So what do you do when your hands run into each other? Like we were doing yesterday? What if I did... wait. What do I do there, right? When the melody and my left hand are starting to overlap. That's what you do. Inversions. And today we're going to be talking about how to invert these jazz piano chords. My name's Willie Mayette, creator of JAZZEDGE. Welcome to lesson 17 of Jazz Piano Daily. All right, so the three basic types of chords that we've talked about up to this point are the minor chord, the major chord, and the dominant seventh chord. All right, so what I have here in front of me is just my basic, there's my D minor 7 chord, right? There's my C major 7th chord, and then there is my G7 chord. Okay? Now, in these chords, there is an A form and a B form. Now, let me explain something to you. The A form and B form is just literally a label. And sometimes it might be the 3rd on the bottom is the A form for some people, or the 7th on the bottom is the A form. So it really doesn't matter, this whole A form, B form thing. Don't get caught up in it. Just know that there are two different inversions that you have to know for each one of these rootless chords. So let's start first of all here in this A form. These are the ones that we have already done, all right? So we've already talked about these. So we had our D minor 7th chord, we had our C major 7th chord, and then we had our G7 chord. That's how we formed them. That was the easiest way to form those chords. So notice on the D minor 7 chord, I'm going to play them with my right hand so I can play the root. Here, notice the 3rd is on the bottom. For the C, notice the 3rd is on the bottom. But for the G, notice the 7th was on the bottom. Now, when we do the inversion, it's super easy. All you do, if I want to invert the G, all I do is I take the bottom two notes, okay, and I move them up an octave. That's it. Literally take the bottom two notes and then move them up an octave. Now, you could also think of it the other way. Take the top two notes and then move them down an octave. Whatever way is easiest for you. But this is how you would play the B form of a G7 chord. Now, a lot of times I call that like the A form and the G7. A lot of times I call the 7th on the bottom the A form. Or, I'm sorry, the 3rd on the bottom the A form and the 7th on the bottom the B form. Like I said, though, don't get caught up with this A form, B form business, all right? Some people just move it around. All right, so here, check it out. I have D minor 7, that one or that one. Those are the two forms I need to know. C major 7, there's that form or that form. G7, there's that form or there's this form. So all I'm doing is I'm taking the bottom two notes or top two notes, whichever way you want to do it. I like thinking the bottom two notes, moving them on up an octave. Okay? So when we had Misty before, this was our E flat major 7th chord. Well, what could we do? We could play it like this, but we were kind of, right, getting in the way there, right? Because the melody should be right here, but wait a second, I'm playing over the melody with the chord. So take the top two notes, move them down an octave, and I got that. And it is a gorgeous, gorgeous sound. Right? Now notice that you can go too far down. Right? Even there, that's too low. Right? That would be too low. That sounds better there, but down there, that's a little bit too low. When we start to move too low onto the instrument, that's called our lower interval limits. And basically what that's saying is that there are certain intervals you could play at certain points on the instrument, and the lower you go, you can't play that interval anymore. An interval of like a 5th, you could play almost down to the bottom. An octave, all the way down to the bottom, right? But an interval of like, say, a 3rd, right? You can hear that starts to get muddy real quickly. This is why learning inversions are so important. All right, so here's the two forms. So you could go back into lesson 13, 14, and 15 with the major, minor, or the minor, major, and dominant 7th chord, rootless chord voicings. And you could do the A form, B form of those if you want to. The thing to note is that either the 3rd is going to be the bottom note or the 7th is going to be the bottom note. When I say bottom note, I don't mean this note that I'm playing over here. This is just the bass note down here. I'm talking bottom note of the voicing. So this is the voicing. Whether you're playing with the right hand or the left hand, it doesn't matter. My bottom note is F. So it's either going to be the 3rd or the 7th. Okay, so 3rd or 7th. Now you might say, well, wait a second, can't I do that as well? That's a beautiful sounding chord, Willie. Why wouldn't I put the 9th on the bottom? Or why wouldn't I put, like, the 5th on the bottom there? Do something like that. Well, you can. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But here's why I would suggest that you don't worry about the 9th on the bottom or the 5th on the bottom, and you really just focus on these two forms. Because when you start doing math, okay, you're going to notice that you're going to build up these chords very quickly. There's going to be a lot of chords to practice. So already you got 12 keys. Okay, so if you're just going to do, say, your rootless minor 7th chord in all 12 keys, well, that version right there, that's 12 chords to learn. If I'm going to then do that and then do my B form, now that's 24 chords to learn. If I'm going to do all the other forms, that's going to be 48 chords to learn before I've gotten away from minor. Right? Then I got majors, then I got dominants. So easily right there would be 150 chords to learn. Right? You can do the math. It gets exponentially harder and more difficult as you're trying to learn all these chords. Here's the other reason. These two voicings are really all that you need. You can almost always get away with playing either the A form or the B form of the rootless chord voicing, and it would work on the keyboard and make it so that you don't get crosses and conflicts with the right hand. So I have found that those two forms are really all that you need. All right, so now let's jump into the song now. So now notice what we're doing here. We changed this E flat major 7th, right? So now it's a different form here. This is the B form. When we went to the B flat minor, that was okay, even though there was a half step there, because it happens pretty quick. But now check out the E flat 7 and look at how simple it is to go from B flat minor 7 to E flat 7. In yesterday's lesson, we did B flat minor like that and E flat like that. We literally picked up all 4 fingers here, right? All 4 notes. We picked them all up and then moved them to a whole different chord. Now look. That's it. 1 note moving a half step. See how simple that is? B flat minor 7, E flat 7. Now when you play the E flat 7, don't do this. Instead, play all of the notes of the chord again. Right, just don't slide down there. Make sure you're hitting all the notes again. All right, so B flat minor 7, then to E flat 7. Let's keep moving on. Then we move down to A flat major 7th. Super easy there, right? Then A flat minor 7th, and now take a look at D flat 7. Boop, half step. That's it. A flat minor to D flat 7. Half step. Remember, the other inversion we were doing was this. I'll play it up here, right? This is the 3rd, 13, 7, and 9. If I take those top 2 notes, right, the B and the E flat, and I move it down here, well, now, lo and behold, what do I have? Same notes I'm playing right here, okay? All right, so now let's try playing this along with the iReal Pro track. Let's see how that sounds. Okay, here we go. If I kept going. I can still play the melody up an octave if I wanted to. So you could hear and see how easily the chords move when you're utilizing inversions and how smooth the sound is between those chords. So between yesterday's lesson, number 16, on how to play jazz piano, and now today on how to invert these chords, your sound is starting to sound pretty darn sophisticated. Now, I understand that there's quite a bit of material between yesterday and today to absorb. So the next 3 days, I'm going to be focusing on some improvisation practice exercises over these 3 chords, right? Just to kind of like really nail it home for you here and make sure that you're fully understanding these chords, but then also giving you some scales to work off of. That's what we'll be covering starting in tomorrow's lesson. I want to remind you, if you want to get the sheet music for today's lesson and all of those Jazz Piano Daily lessons, just go back to jazzpianodaily.com or take a look at that card that popped up in the top right in the video on YouTube. And then if you are enjoying these lessons, please do me a favor. I'm trying to get to 70,000 subscribers. Do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, turn on notifications. That would help me out a lot. All right, so thanks a lot for joining me. If you have any more questions or need help, go back to Jazz Piano Daily. Get some more lessons right back there. All right, see you guys tomorrow.